baseball game is exciting. In many ways, it's a lot like a good story. There are plenty of interesting characters. There's suspense, drama, action, even conflict. That's why so many books have been written about baseball. I have a book about play baseball. Me, Mop, and the Moondance Kid by Walter Dean Myers. The me in the title is T.J. Williams. He's 11 years old, and he's the one who tells the story. Mop stands for Miss Olivia Parrish, M.O.P. She's 11 too, and Moondance is T.J.'s younger brother. Now, Mop and Moondance are pretty good baseball players, but T.J. needs a lot of help. They have a Little League team called the Elks. T.J., Mop, and Moondance grew up together at an orphanage called the Dominican Academy. In the beginning of the book, they're in a park practicing, trying to improve their baseball skills and get their team out of last place. And help comes from a surprising source. You'll see what I mean. Here's me, Mop, and the Moondance Kid.
So the team is on the playing field with Sister Carmelita the next day, and we're throwing the ball around a little and talking a lot, the way we usually do when this guy Peaches comes over to us. "What y'all doing?" he asked. "Fixing to go to the moon," Brian said. "You want to come?" "Don't you be fresh-mouthing me, boy, 'cause I don't take no fresh-mouthing." "This is our Little League team," Sister Carmelita said. "We're practicing." "I used to be one of the best ball players there is," Peaches said. "You know what they used to call me? The Alabama Peach." "The what?" Moondance looked at Peaches as if he didn't really believe him. "The Alabama Peach. They used to have this white guy they called the Georgia Peach, and they used to call me the Alabama Peach." "Ty Cobb," Sister Carmelita answered. "You know that white boy?" Peaches asked. "I've read about him." "Here, let me show you how to—" "We don't need you to show us nothing," Brian said. Peaches had reached for Brian's bat, and Brian snatched it away from him. "Why don't you split, man?" Mop said. "You don't look like you can teach anybody nothing." "Oh, I can teach you plenty." He waved his hand at us and started away. "Would you teach me how to hit?" Sister Carmelita called after him. "You gotta be kidding." Brian looked at Sister Carmelita with his face pushed forward and his hands on his hips. "I'll teach you. Let me take my coat off here a minute. Yo, nun lady." Brian went up to Sister Carmelita. "He's a wino." "He's a human being, one of God's creatures. Now, is there anyone else who would like him to help them?" "Yeah, okay." I didn't really want Peaches to help me, but I kind of felt sorry for him. I couldn't tell how old he was, really, but I knew he was old, and I knew he looked kind of thrown away, too. I had felt like that before. "You stand right over here," Peaches said. "Fix your feet like I got mine fixed." I stood at the plate and placed my feet the way he had his. Then he took the bat Brian had dropped on the ground, gave it to me, and asked me if I was ready. "Yeah." "Okay. When I throw you the ball, you keep your eye right on it. But make sure you don't swing the bat until the ball gets to you." He threw the ball. It was high, but I swung anyway. I just missed it by this much. "You're swinging too soon. Wait till the ball gets right up on you. And then you gotta swing quick." He threw the ball, and I missed it again. "Oh, great. He's teaching you a lot, TJ, Brian said. I missed 3 more balls, and Peaches kept telling me to do this and do that. Then I hit a ball, and it bounced right back to him. "Best hit you had all season, TJ, Mop called out. I gave her a look, and then missed the next 3 balls. "You're getting closer," Peaches called out. I threw the bat down. Brian was right. "I'll try it," Sister Carmelita picked the bat up. "Me and TJ are gonna go play catch," Brian said. We started off to one side. Moondance came with us, and Mop stayed behind. Crack! Me and Brian turned around at the same time. We saw the ball go flying through there and land almost at the fence. That's the way to do it, Peaches said. That's the way. Moondance went over and got the ball and threw it back to them. Peaches did this funny little wind-up and pitched the ball to Sister Carmelita again. Crack! You didn't even have to turn around to know it was gone. I mean, G-O-N-E over the fence. That was an official Little League ball, Brian said. By the time we got the ball and brought it back, Peaches was putting his little dirty coat back on. She learned real good, he said. Yeah, she all right. Y'all have her on your team, and you be okay.
The way Sister Carmelita can hit, it's a shame she can't play for the team. And Peaches, he really was a good ball player. Maybe he can help them. Sister Carmelita trusts him. But then Sister Carmelita trusts everybody, and that can be a problem. A few days later, she went to the supermarket with $70 to buy food for the poor. A strange man came up to her and told her he knew more about what poor people wanted to eat than she did. And so she gave him the $70 and let him do the shopping. Well, that was the last time she ever saw him or the money. And boy, was she embarrassed. She was ashamed to tell the nuns at the academy that she had trusted a crook. But she did tell T.J. Mop and Moondance what happened, and together they decided that maybe Peaches would be the person who would know how to find this man and get back the $70.
Peaches didn't open the door all the way. He stood looking at Sister Carmelita as she told him what had happened. I thought maybe you might know him. Pete shrugged. This guy knew you was a nun and he still pulled that dirty trick on you? He knew it was money for the poor, Sister Carmelita said. What did he say his name was? Mr. Aaron Brown. How he looked? He's got a real big head and he's got a scar on his chin. Big-headed, mean-tempered fool with yellow teeth. That's him. That ain't no Aaron Brown, Peaches shook his head. That's Buster Green. He's about the meanest man in the city. He'd steal pennies off in a dead man's eyes and pass them to his own mama for nickels. He's not dangerous or anything, is he? He's a dangerous man, Peaches said. Everybody know that Buster Green would rather hurt you than say hello. Then maybe we'd just better forget the whole thing, Sister Carmelita said. Now, I just got me an idea how we can get Buster loose from that money. You ever hear tell of 4 times 7? None of us had heard about any 4 times 7. And me and Mop wasn't sure about whether Peaches was being honest or whether he was just trying to get $1 to buy some wine. Peaches told Sister Carmelita to give him $1 and go back to the academy. He would do the rest. I'm going with you, I said. Come on along if you want, Peaches said. Me too, Mop said. Sister Carmelita said she was going to go back to the academy and pray. Peaches, me and Mop went over to Fairview where a friend of his lived. It was an old woman who didn't have any shape. She had a shape, but not a shape where you could say she was shaped like this or shaped like that. She just sort of lumped out all over the place. She was sitting in her window, and we talked to her from the sidewalk. Peaches started telling her what Buster Green had done. Miss Sally, guess what Buster Green done did? Honey, that lowlife might have done some of anything. Do tell. What he done now? He done robbed a nun. He did? Sure as I'm standing here, you know the Lord don't like you messing with his people. Ain't that the truth? Who these kids? They the nun's friends. We're trying to figure out a way to get the money back. Peaches, you're gonna do something to make a fool out of Buster. I just know you is. What you gonna do? Well, I got me $1, Peaches said. If you let me borrow some ketchup and 4 times 7 for about an hour, I'll see what I can do. 4 times 7? Miss Sally turned her head to one side and pursed her lips. Peaches, you always been a figuring fool. I'll let you borrow him if you wait while I get dressed so I can see what you're gonna do. We went across the street to a small store, and Peaches bought a small can of shaving cream. By the time we got back to where Miss Sally lived, she was out on the sidewalk. Next to her was a shopping cart, and in the shopping cart was a box, the kind you keep animals in. How is it today, Peaches asked, bending over so he could take a good look at the box. He okay, Miss Sally said. He ain't been fed yet, though. That in there is 4 times 7, Peaches said. 2 guys came down the street and stopped and looked at the box. He in there, Miss Sally? A light-skinned guy asked. He in there, Miss Sally said. They looked at the box from a little distance. I looked at Mop, and Mop was leaning over trying to see what was in the box. We heard a growl come from the box, and we all backed off. 4 times 7 was born with 7 toes on each foot, Peaches said. That's how he got his name. He's the meanest cat that ever walked the face of the earth. A cat? Mop asked. He ain't just no cat, Miss Sally said. That's 4 times 7. When he was nothing but a kitten, he chased a dog through the streets of Baltimore until the dog dropped dead from a heart attack, Peaches went on. Tell him about that rattlesnake he killed in Monroe, Louisiana, Miss Sally said. Mojo man tried to throw the rattlesnake on me, and 4 times 7 grabbed it and shook it till every one of its rattles come off, and it had to shed its skin to get away. He a legend in his own time, Peaches said. Just like Babe Ruth or Joe Louis. A hobo in East St. Louis tried to kill him by throwing him in the water, but he just swam the shore nice as you please. Same hobo tried to throw him in the fire, but he just came out with half his fur burned off and a grin on his face. Got hit by a taxi once. That didn't kill him. And I seen that with my own eyes. I know the Egyptian fella that was driving the cab. Miss Sally started pushing the cart down the street. Peaches went after her. Some people were looking at us, but I was listening to the growls coming from that box.
What a showdown. The meanest cat in the world versus Buster Green, the meanest man in the world. To find out how it all turns out, you're just going to have to read Me, Mop, and the Moondance Kid by Walter Dean Myers. And you'll find out if TJ learns how to hit, and if the Elks can work together and become a real Little League team. Also, there's trouble at the academy, and the orphanage is going to be closing. That means that Mop has to find somebody to adopt her fast. While you're at the library, look for these other books by Walter Dean Myers. Mop, Moondance, and the Nagasaki Nights, and Scorpions. This is a bonsai juniper. Bonsai is a Japanese word that means planted in a tray. But this is much more than just a plant in a tray. This is a miniature tree. And I'm pruning it right now to try to get it to grow out this limb and up to give it a more interesting shape. In Japan, they've been working with bonsai for hundreds of years. And some of their little trees are over 300 years old. Why are the Japanese so interested in making things little? Well, I think it's probably because Japan itself is relatively small. It's about the size of California. And yet, Japan has half the population of the United States. So if you could picture all of us, or half of us living in California, you'd have a better idea of how crowded it is in Japan. So the Japanese have naturally become experts at doing a lot with a small space. I planned this 15-foot patio in the Japanese style because I wanted it to look bigger, to look like I had more space. And in Japan, they've done just about everything they can think of to get more space. As a matter of fact, many Japanese have simply left Japan. Yoshiko Uchida wrote a series of books about a Japanese family who came to America, to Berkeley, California in 1935. A Jar of Dreams is the first book in the series, and it introduces the Sujimura family. Rinko is the daughter in the family, and she tells the story. She and her two brothers, California and Joji, were all born in the United States, but her parents came over from Japan. Rinko's father was a barber, and her mother did housework for wealthy families in Berkeley. And one night at dinner, they had a very serious discussion because Mr. Sujimura was not making enough money as a barber to pay the family bills. They decided they had to find some way to make more money.
It was terribly depressing to hear Papa talk about all his unpaid bills. And when I looked at him sitting there, looking tired and worried, I noticed he even had a few gray hairs sprouting at his temples. That was when Cal said, I could send home the money I earned this summer. But Papa and Mama said almost simultaneously that he was to do no such thing, and that anything he earned was to be used for his tuition and expenses at the university in the fall. Nothing must come before your education, Papa said to Cal. Not my shop or the rent or anything else. And don't ever forget that. Cal started to argue back. I thought sure he'd start talking about how a college education wasn't going to do him much good anyway. His mouth was half open, and then he seemed to think better of it and kept quiet. Thank goodness, I thought. It certainly was no time to have a big argument with Papa. He can get pretty mad when he loses his temper. Mama brought out a bowl of cabbage she'd pickled with salt and raisins and pressed down with a heavy round stone. She gave Papa his ivory chopsticks and served him some plain rice in a bowl. We each have our own special pair of chopsticks. Mine are speckled red lacquer. Papa poured hot tea over his rice and ate it in a few quick gulps with some pickled cabbage. Then he filled his bowl with hot tea and drank it slowly. No matter what Mama makes for supper, even chicken dumplings, Papa always has to end his meal with rice, tea, and pickles. And he always seems to feel better after he's eaten that. I guess he likes it even better than dessert, because Papa isn't wild about sweets the way Joji and I are. The two of us could eat cake and candy all day long, but for some strange reason, it's only Joji who gets fat. For some strange reason, it's only Joji who gets fat. Well, when Papa finished his rice and pickles and leaned back in his chair, Mama said she had something to say. You know, Mrs. Phillips and her friends often ask if I know someone who could do their wash for them. In fact, Mrs. Phillips asked me again today if I couldn't come in on Mondays as well as Tuesdays and do her washing and ironing for her. Papa ran a finger across his mustache. Do you want to do that? But Mama said, no. I just had an even better idea. How would it be if I stopped working for Mrs. Phillips altogether and started a home laundry in our basement? I know Mrs. Phillips and her friends would give us their business, and I could make more money than I do now just working for one family. We were all flabbergasted. I mean, it was Papa who usually had the crazy ideas about a new business, not Mama. We all stared at her to see if she was joking, but she was sitting there straight and stiff, looking very determined, and we could see she meant what she said. Papa rubbed the back of his neck the way he does when he doesn't know what to say. Running a home laundry would be hard work, Mama. Are you sure you could manage? Mama looked Papa straight in the eye and said, you know I've never been afraid of hard work. All I need are soap, hot water, and a strong back, and I have all three. Besides, when Waka comes, I'm sure she'd be willing to help me. I saw I had a chance to help too, so I said, maybe I could iron the flat, easy stuff, like the pillowcases and the handkerchiefs. After all, I was already doing that with our own wash, so I figured I could do it for Mama's home laundry as well. Mama gave me one of her quick smiles that crinkle up her face, and she said she'd certainly appreciate any help she could get. So Joji offered to help too, although I couldn't imagine what he could possibly do besides get in the way. By that time, Papa was getting enthusiastic about the idea as well. I could look around for an old washing machine to fix up for you, and Joji and I could pick up and deliver the laundry. In your old Model T, Cal asked. Papa had bought the car third or fourth hand for only $30 and fixed it up like new. Why not? We could hang a sign over the side of the car. It could say, Sujimura, A1 Home Laundry, with our address and phone number on it. Cal was grinning. Well, Mama, looks like you got yourself a home laundry.
The idea of a family laundry was a good idea. From their next-door neighbor, Mrs. Sugarman, they got an old washing machine, which Papa fixed up. Through Mrs. Phillips, they got quite a few customers, so the business got off to a good start. There was only one problem: Wilbur Starr. Wilbur Starr owned the biggest laundry in Berkeley. He had a whole fleet of trucks, and he had a nice modern laundry downtown. Rinko and Joji hated Wilbur Starr because whenever they went by his store, he chased them away and called them dirty little Japs. When he found out about the Sujimura laundry, he had one of his trucks follow Mr. Sujimura and take down the addresses of all the customers. Then he sent his trucks around and picked up the Sujimura laundry. Well, Mr. Sujimura went to his customers and asked them to wait until after 5:30 to put out their dirty laundry bundles. That way, Mr. Starr's laundry trucks would have already made their rounds. Well, that worked for a while, but then Mr. Starr found out what was happening, and he got so angry that he killed the Sujimura family dog. They could never prove that he or one of his men was the gunman, but they knew it couldn't be anybody else. So Mr. Sujimura had to do something. He got his best friend, the one the kids called Uncle Kanda, and they went down and they confronted Wilbur Starr.
When we got to the laundry, I scrunched down low and peeked in through the plate glass window to see if Papa and Uncle Kanda were there. They were there, all right. Papa had his hands pressed down on the counter and was leaning towards a tall, thin man with mud-colored hair and steel-rimmed spectacles on his nose. He wore an eye shade and black sleeve protectors, looking as if he'd been working on his books. "That's him," I whispered to Joji. "That's old Wilbur Starr." He looked just as mean as the day he'd yelled at us when we'd gone by his laundry. The front door was open, and I crept closer so I could hear what was going on. Joji was right behind me. Papa was in the middle of a sentence, and all I heard was, "And we have as much right to make a living in the laundry business as you have, Mr. Starr." "After all," Uncle Kanda added, "you don't own the entire city of Berkeley." I saw that Uncle Kanda was wearing his Sunday suit and his good black tie. He had his hat, too, but he'd taken it off and was turning it around and around in his hands. Wilbur Starr just glared at Papa and Uncle Kanda. Then he said, "You people are all alike, undercutting us with your cheap labor and cheap prices. That's bad for all of us. Why don't you just go on back where you came from?" I felt like I'd been slapped in the face. I stepped back and squashed Joji's toe. "Ow!" he said, and poked me with his baseball bat. But I was too worried about Papa to have a fight then with Joji. I'd never heard anybody talk to Papa like that, and I thought sure he'd lose his temper and yell at Wilbur Starr and do something that would get him in real trouble. But Papa didn't yell at all. He just straightened up real tall, and when he answered, his voice was like taut steel wire cutting into Mr. Starr's soft white flesh. "Yes, we Japanese work hard, but there's no law against hard work, is there? Suppose we do charge a little less than you. How can our small laundry ever be a threat to you, with 4 trucks picking up laundry all over the city?" "Why are you so afraid of a little honest competition, Mr. Starr?" Uncle Kanda asked. "Aren't we all free in this country to pursue a livelihood?" Uncle Kanda certainly was no dormouse today. I was surprised at the way he spoke up. As soon as Uncle Kanda stopped, Papa went on. He was talking as if he was the main speaker at the Japanese Association picnic, standing on the platform with red and white bunting and addressing a big crowd of people. He sounded like he'd never stop, and by then, I was so scared I could feel my heart pounding in my mouth and ears. You better stop now, Papa, or Mr. Starr's gonna pull out his gun for sure. But of course, Papa couldn't hear me, and he kept right on going. He asked Wilbur Starr what kind of human being he was to kill an innocent dog. I'm here to tell you, Mr. Starr, we are never giving up. You've only made us more determined than ever to keep our laundry going. I looked at Wilbur Starr and saw his mouth was open, but no words were coming out. His eyes bulged, and he took off his eye shade and wiped his forehead. Until now, he'd always thrown a lot of hateful words at us and watched us run. But Papa hadn't run. He and Uncle Conda had told him exactly what they thought of him, and Wilbur Starr looked like he'd run clean out of words. I knew then that Mrs. Sugar and Aunt Waka were right. I felt like clapping for Papa and Uncle Conda. I was so proud of them. I wanted to yell and cheer and turn cartwheels and throw firecrackers at the sun. Instead, I fell flat on my face, right in the doorway of the Starr Laundry, because Joji had kept pushing me from behind so he could see better. When I fell, Joji fell on top of me, and the two of us landed with a terrible racket right in front of everybody. That was when Wilbur Starr finally found some words to say, "Get out of here, you no-good Jap kids!" He screamed and came running from behind the counter with his hand raised in a big fist. I ducked because I was sure he was going to hit Joji and me, but Papa grabbed his arm before he could get near us. "Don't you ever talk to my children like that again," Papa said real slow, making every word count. "And don't you or your men ever bother us again. Or next time," Uncle Conda warned him, "you will be the one to be sorry." Papa pulled Joji and me to our feet and said, "Come along, children. We're finished here." Then he and Uncle Conda went striding down the street with their heads held high, and they never looked back once.
That certainly seemed to take care of Wilbur Starr. And after that, some good things began to happen, especially the visit by Rinko's mother's sister, Aunt Waka. Go to the library and look for A Jar of Dreams by Yoshiko Uchida. And you might look for the other two books about Rinko, The Best Bad Thing and The Happiest Ending. They're all three very good books. Happy reading, and I'll see you next time.